He's dead. Iran's Supreme Leader, the most powerful man in Iran for 35 years, killed. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, age 85, Supreme Leader of Iran since 1989, was killed yesterday in joint US-Israeli airstrikes on Tehran. The operation was called Epic Fury, and it was the largest coordinated military action against Iran in modern history. This is not just another Middle East airstrike. This is the assassination of a supreme leader. The equivalent of killing a head of state, the man who controlled Iran's military, its nuclear program, its foreign policy, its entire government for over 3 decades, and he's gone. Confirmed dead this morning by Iranian state media. The question everyone is asking right now across every platform, every news network, every country is this World War III? Because when you kill a supreme leader, when you decapitate the leadership of a country with 90 million people, thousands of ballistic missiles, and proxy forces across the Middle East, what comes next is unpredictable and potentially catastrophic. Iran is already retaliating, missiles launched at Israel, attacks on US bases. Oil prices spiking, stock markets crashing, emergency on Security Council meeting called, Russia and China condemning the strikes. This is Strategic Signal Report. I'm Sarah Mitchell. Over the next 12 minutes, I'm breaking down exactly how Khamenei was killed, what Operation Epic Fury targeted, who's in charge of Iran now, how Iran is retaliating, whether Russia or China intervene, and whether this is the beginning of World War III or something short of it. This is the most significant geopolitical event in decades. Let's go. Let me walk you through exactly what happened yesterday, February 28, 2026, because the details tell you how coordinated and how risky this operation was. According to reporting from the New York Times, the Washington Post, and Israeli media, the strike began at approximately 3:47 a.m. Tehran time. That's late night, when air defenses are least alert. The first wave came from US Navy ships in the Arabian Sea. Tomahawk cruise missiles, over 50 of them, hit Iranian air defense systems, radar installations, and communication centers. This blinded Iran's ability to detect incoming aircraft. The second wave came from Israeli F-35 stealth fighters that had flown from Israeli air bases, refueled over Jordan, and penetrated Iranian airspace undetected. They carried precision-guided bombs designed to penetrate hardened bunkers. The third wave, and this is the one that killed Khamenei, came from US B-2 stealth bombers that dropped massive bunker-buster bombs on a compound in northern Tehran. That compound was where Khamenei had been staying. US and Israeli intelligence had been tracking his movements for weeks. They knew he was there, they knew the exact building, they knew the exact floor, and they hit it with bombs designed to penetrate 200 feet underground. Khamenei was killed instantly, according to Iranian state media reporting this morning. His body was recovered from the rubble along with several Revolutionary Guard commanders and advisors who were with him. Also killed in separate strikes, Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi. He was at a different location in Tehran, a government building that was also hit. Both the Supreme Leader and the President killed in the same night. This was not an accident. This was not collateral damage. This was targeted decapitation. The US and Israel killed Iran's top 2 leaders in a coordinated operation designed to destroy Iran's command structure. Operation Epic Fury didn't just target Khamenei. According to President Trump's statement this morning, the operation hit over 150 targets across Iran. Here's what was struck. Leadership targets, Khamenei's compound, President Raisi's location, several Revolutionary Guard commanders, Iranian military leadership decapitated in one night, nuclear facilities, the remaining enrichment sites at Fordo and Natanz, research labs in Isfahan, heavy water reactor at Iraq. Iran's nuclear program has been set back decades. Missile sites, ballistic missile bases across western and northern Iran, underground missile storage facilities, production plants, Iran's missile arsenal severely degraded. Military bases, Revolutionary Guard headquarters in Tehran, ERG bases in Qom, Mashhad, and Shiraz, Navy bases on the Persian Gulf, Air Force installations, command and control, communication centers, radar installations, military satellite ground stations. Iran's ability to coordinate military operations disrupted. This was not a limited strike. This was a full-scale military campaign designed to cripple Iran's ability to wage war, and according to Trump's statement, it's ongoing, meaning more strikes are coming. The US and Israel are not done. So who's running Iran right now? Because when you kill both the Supreme Leader and the President, there's a power vacuum, and power vacuums in countries with nuclear ambitions and thousands of missiles are extremely dangerous. Under Iran's constitution, here's what's supposed to happen. When a supreme leader dies, the Assembly of Experts, a council of 88 senior clerics, meets to elect a new supreme leader. This process can take days or weeks. In the interim, there's supposed to be an acting leader that would typically be the president, but the president is dead too. So the next person in line is the first vice president, currently Mohammad Mokbar. But Mokbar is not a powerful figure. He's a technocrat, not a political leader. He doesn't command the Revolutionary Guard's loyalty. The real power right now is with the Revolutionary Guard Corps, specifically its commander, General Hossein Salami. He's the one who controls Iran's military forces, its missile arsenal, its proxy groups across the region. And here's the danger. Salami is a hardliner. He's more extreme than Khamenei was. He's already vowed crushing revenge against the US and Israel. He's the one who will decide how Iran retaliates. The Assembly of Experts will eventually choose a new supreme leader, but that could take weeks, and in those weeks, General Salami effectively controls Iran's military response. That's terrifying, because Salami doesn't have to worry about political consequences or international diplomacy. He's a military commander, and military commanders retaliate. Iran is already hitting back, and it's hitting hard. According to reports from Israeli media and US Central Command, ballistic missiles launched at Israel. Iran fired approximately 180 ballistic missiles at Israeli cities early this morning. Israel's Iron Dome, David's Sling, and Arrow systems intercepted most of them, but some got through. At least 7 people killed in Tel Aviv, over 40 injured, significant damage to residential buildings. Attacks on US bases. Pro-Iranian militias in Iraq launched rockets and drones at US bases in Baghdad and Erbil. 1 US soldier killed, dozen injured. The US responded with airstrikes on militia positions, but attacks are continuing. Drone swarm on Saudi Arabia. Houthi rebels in Yemen, backed by Iran, launched over 50 drones at Saudi oil facilities. Saudi air defenses shot down most of them, but at least 1 refinery was hit and is currently burning. Cyber attacks. Iran's cyber warfare units are hitting Israeli and US infrastructure, power grids, banking systems, government websites. So far, most attacks have been repelled, but cybersecurity experts say more are coming. Threats to close the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's navy has moved ships and mines toward the narrow waterway between Iran and Oman. 20% of the world's oil passes through there. If Iran closes it, oil prices could hit $200 per barrel. This is not symbolic retaliation. This is real military action designed to inflict maximum damage on the US and its allies. And the danger is escalation. Every time Iran hits, the US hits back harder. Every time the US hits, Iran hits back. This spiral can go one of 2 ways. Either both sides step back, or this becomes a full-scale war. Now here's something bizarre that's gone viral in the past 24 hours, and it tells you how terrified people are about what's happening. There's a decades-old prophecy from a Bulgarian mystic named Baba Vanga who died in 1996. She was known as the Nostradamus of the Balkans because she allegedly predicted major world events: 9/11, the 2004 tsunami, Obama's presidency. And one of her most famous predictions was this: in 2026, a great war will begin. A Muslim country will launch attacks. The war will spread and involve many nations. People are now sharing this prophecy millions of times across social media. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, everyone asking, did Baba Vanga predict World War III starting in 2026? I want to be clear, prophecies are not evidence. Baba Vanga's predictions are vague and open to interpretation, but the fact that this is trending tells you how much fear there is right now. People are genuinely asking, is this it? Is this how World War III starts? And the honest answer is, we don't know yet, but the pieces are in place for it to happen. Let me walk through the realistic scenarios for how this either stays contained or explodes into global war. Scenario 1, contained regional conflict. This is what the US and Israel are hoping for. Iran retaliates with missiles and proxy attacks. The US and Israel hit back harder. After a week or 2 of back-and-forth strikes, both sides realize the costs are too high. Iran's military is devastated. US and Israeli losses are manageable. A ceasefire is negotiated through intermediaries, maybe Turkey or Qatar. Iran gets a new supreme leader who's more pragmatic. The crisis de-escalates. This is the best-case scenario, but it requires both sides to show restraint, and restraint is not something we're seeing right now. Scenario 2, Russia and China intervene diplomatically. Russia and China have already condemned the strikes. Russia called it an act of aggression and a violation of international law. China called for an emergency on Security Council meeting. But what if they go further? What if Russia provides Iran with advanced air defense systems S-400 that can shoot down Israeli jets? What if China threatens economic sanctions against the US? That doesn't make this World War III yet, but it internationalizes the conflict. It brings in great powers, and once great powers are involved, miscalculation becomes more likely. Scenario 3. Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz. If Iran successfully mines the Strait of Hormuz and prevents oil tankers from passing, the global economy craters overnight, oil hits $200 per barrel, gas prices in the US double, inflation explodes. At that point, the US has no choice but to reopen the strait by force. That means invading Iranian coastal areas. That means US ground troops fighting Iranian forces. That's a major escalation. And if US troops are fighting on Iranian soil, Russia and China might feel compelled to do more than just condemn. They might provide direct military support to Iran. Scenario 4. Hezbollah goes all in. Hezbollah in Lebanon has over 100,000 rockets and missiles pointed at Israel. So far, they've fired some, but not all out. If Hezbollah launches everything they have, if they rain thousands of rockets on Israeli cities for days, Israel will have to invade Lebanon to stop them. That brings Syria into the fight. Syria backs Hezbollah. Russia has troops in Syria. Suddenly, you have Israeli forces fighting near Russian forces. That's how accidental wars start. Scenario 5. Nuclear escalation. Here's the nightmare scenario nobody wants to talk about, but everyone's thinking about. Iran has been pursuing nuclear weapons for decades. They don't have them yet, at least not publicly. But what if they do? What if they've been hiding a secret program? If Iran feels its existence is threatened, if leadership believes the US is going to invade, they might use a nuclear weapon as a last resort. Even a small tactical nuke changes everything. Israel would respond with nuclear weapons. The US would be pulled in. Russia has nuclear weapons. China has nuclear weapons. And suddenly we're talking about nuclear war. I don't think we're there yet. But the fact that it's even a possibility tells you how dangerous this moment is. Let me show you what world leaders are saying right now, because their statements tell you whether they're trying to calm this down or escalate it. President Trump said this morning, Operation Epic Fury will continue until Iran's nuclear program and terrorist networks are completely dismantled. Khamenei and Raisi chose this path. They funded terrorism, developed nuclear weapons, and threatened American allies. Now they're gone, and we will finish what we started. That's not de-escalation language. That's "we're going to keep hitting you" language. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said, "This is the beginning of the end for the Islamic Republic. For 45 years, Iran has terrorized the region. Today, justice was delivered, and we will not stop until every threat to Israel is eliminated." Again, not de-escalation. That's total victory language. Russian President Putin said, "This is a dangerous provocation that threatens global security. Russia stands with Iran against Western aggression. We call on the international community to condemn these illegal attacks. Russia is backing Iran publicly. That's significant." Chinese Foreign Ministry said, China opposes unilateral military action and calls for immediate ceasefire. All parties must show restraint and resolve differences through dialogue. China is being more measured than Russia, but they're also not condemning Iran. They're condemning the US and Israel, Secretary General Guterres said, "I am gravely concerned about the escalating violence. I call on all parties to step back from the brink. The world cannot afford another major war." The UN is powerless here, but the fact that the Secretary General is using phrases like "step back from the brink" tells you how serious this is. So what should you be watching for in the next 48 hours? What are the signs that tell us whether this contained or explodes? Watch oil prices. If oil goes above $150 per barrel and stays there, that means markets believe the Strait of Hormuz is about to close. That means global economic crisis. Watch Russia's next move. If Russia provides Iran with advanced weapons air defense systems, anti-ship missiles, that's a major escalation. It means Russia is willing to directly challenge the US in the Middle East. Watch Hezbollah. If Hezbollah launches thousands of rockets at Israel, Israel will invade Lebanon. That brings Syria and possibly Russia into the fight. Watch the US deployment. If the US starts moving ground troops, not just aircraft carriers, but actual army divisions, that means Trump is preparing for a ground invasion of Iran. That would be catastrophic. Watch Iran's new leader. Whoever the Assembly of Experts chooses as the next supreme leader will determine Iran's strategy. If they choose a hardliner worse than Khamenei, this escalates. If they choose someone pragmatic who wants to negotiate, there's a path to de-escalation. The next 48 hours this weekend will determine whether This becomes World War III, or whether it stays a regional conflict that eventually burns out. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is dead, killed in joint US-Israeli strikes yesterday. President Raisi is also dead. Over 150 targets hit across Iran. Iran is retaliating with missiles, drones, and proxy attacks. The world is asking, is this World War III? The honest answer, not yet, but it could be. The pieces are in place. Russia and China are backing Iran. Oil prices are spiking. Hezbollah has 100,000 rockets ready, and Iran's new military commander has vowed crushing revenge. The next 48 hours will tell us whether leaders step back from the brink or whether this spirals into something far worse. What do you think? Is this World War III? Or will this stay contained? Drop your honest take in the comments. Subscribe to Strategic Signal Report for continuous updates as this develops. This is the biggest story in the world right now, and we'll be here covering every development. For Strategic Signal Report, I'm Sarah Mitchell. The Supreme Leader is dead, the world is watching, and history is being written right now. We'll see you in the next briefing.